4 years, that's 48 months, 1,461 days, 35,064 hours, 2,102,400 minutes, or 126,144,000 seconds. That's how long I spent in high school, and I was counting down every second, minute, hour, day, and month until I could enter the army. It sounds counterintuitive, but I didn't enjoy high school. When I graduated, I was a whopping 106 kilograms. I lacked self-confidence because I didn't speak to people outside of the few friends that I had. I slept an average of 4 hours a night because I spent my nights burying my head in my chemistry books. I neglected my physical and mental health to study the physics of the laws of motion. I missed countless parties to study for computer science tests, and I even skipped my own high school prom to study for a calculus paper that didn't count for my grade. So on my high school graduation day, I threw my cap in the air, and it felt like time had slowed down. I looked at the people sitting near me, and I recognized none of them. And in those brief seconds, I reflected on my entire high school experience. Needless to say, I regretted the way that I spent my time because I had very rarely stopped to smell the roses. I graduated with barely any meaningful friendships or relationships, and only a handful of fond memories to look back on. Sure, I mean, I had good grades, but that's all I had. And I couldn't help but think about what those grades cost me. It was that moment of self-reflection as I waited for my cap to return to me that was a catalyst that changed my mindset. Hi, my name is Avinash Ashok. I'm a former lieutenant in the Singaporean Army and current undergraduate student at the London School of Economics. But I'm by no means smart, nor am I physically fit or an outstanding leader or public speaker. I can't speak any languages apart from English, nor can I play an instrument to contribute to a jam session with my friends, nor am I sporty enough to make a school team. What I am, though, is a person who seizes every opportunity and does so confidently, which is part of the mindset that I have embraced these past few years. I'm someone who enjoys stopping to smell as many roses as I can, even cutting a few from the ground and holding them closely for the journey ahead. And that's what I'm here to talk about today. 2 years, that's 24 months, 730 days, over 17,000 hours, over 1 million minutes, and over 63 million seconds. That's how long I spent in the Army. Sure, there were times when I counted down the seconds, minutes, hours, days, and months, but before I could move on from my mandatory conscription, but there were just as many times where I lost track of the exact count and immersed myself in the experience, when I stopped to smell the roses and allowed myself to live in the present. In fact, during my basic training boot camp, I forced myself to volunteer for every opportunity. If they needed someone to clean the toilet, I would do it. Someone to take the lead for a mission, sign me up. If they wanted someone to demonstrate an exercise or try out the obstacle course, I would be the first in line. At one point, I even held 3 different leadership positions at the same time, leading 60 other recruits in various ways, despite being much younger than them. I would spend my free time going around to the bunks and making new and meaningful friendships, grabbing meals with my army buddies on the weekend, and even occasionally going clubbing. I did all of this to push myself out of my comfort zone, as well as set myself up for other opportunities to come, because I realized sometimes when you stop to smell the roses, you might find yourself walking down a completely new path in the woods. In fact, making the most out of my basic training set me apart from the others and got me into officer cadet school, something that only the top 10% of trainees get to experience. Making the most out of that enabled me to graduate as a second lieutenant and eventually get a promotion to lieutenant, which is the highest rank attainable for a conscript. Making the most out of my army days got me into the LSE because I had really interesting stories and lessons to share in my university application. Making the most out of my university days led me to where I am today, as a student leader in the university student union, president of the world's largest Google Developer Student Club, and someone who spends his free time exploring Europe, hosting a podcast, and enjoying life. I don't mean to boast about what I've achieved. I just want to highlight that making the most out of each experience and immersing myself in a flower bed of roses opened up doors that I didn't even know existed, and took me down paths that I could only dream of. By this point, I think I've gone on long enough about making the most out of everything, but I want to tell you exactly how you can. And it all comes down to self-confidence. How do you build self-confidence? Well, for me, I realized 2 things very quickly during the Army. When I started putting myself out there, I noticed that the first thing was people only care about themselves. And secondly, making a mistake or embarrassing yourself won't kill you. Take this as an example. I have a goal right now to meet one new person a day. So most days I meet them just by chance when my friend introduces me to someone else. But there have been times that I've walked up to people, introduced myself, and they've said that they're too busy, or that they're on their way to get a coffee, or in one rare instance, that they just don't want to talk. But in those situations, I reminded myself that in about an hour's time, I would have forgotten about it. I would have forgotten that I even approached them. Not just that, since everyone only cares about themselves, they'd probably forget it too and go on with their life. And then I'd realize that I'm still alive. Whether or not I approach the person to speak, irrespective of how the interaction goes, the world isn't going to end and no one's going to remember, so I might as well try. My self-confidence also stems from the fact that I'm not afraid of failure or rejection. I'm not afraid because I realize that failure doesn't affect my life in the grand scheme of things. My self-worth isn't determined by one friend that I've grown distant from, nor is it determined by one C+ or B+ on an exam, or rejection from a society or internship or university. Sure, I might feel bad for a few minutes, but when I approach that next person and have a fantastic conversation, and I learn about how they spent their childhood years traveling across 8 countries because their parents were diplomats, I would have already forgotten about the dozens of people who were too busy to talk to me. When you keep trying for success, you will eventually reach it. And when you do, the failures will pale in comparison. Just like that, if there's someone you've always wanted to talk to, or if there's a course you've always wanted to try, or a friendship you've wanted to fix, just do it. My fondest memory from high school was our graduation trip to Bali, Indonesia. That was 5 nights of clubbing, beaches, and temples. Temples mainly to show our parents that we were taking in a bit of culture too, and I will never, in my life, forget that trip. On the flip side, I don't remember the late nights that I spent studying, or any questions on any exam that I've ever written, nor do I remember any of the nights where I just stayed at home and avoided going to parties. My fondest memory in the army was when I commissioned as an officer. As I threw my cap high in the air, I looked around at the people around me and I recognized them. I reminisced about everything we had collectively been through in our training and how we motivated each other to make it past all the screaming and punishment. And as my cap returned to me, I realized that I had done it right. Just like that, I remember every time that I've ever stopped to smell the roses, all of which led me to where I am today. What I'm trying to say is, you should strike that balance between working hard and enjoying life. Go forge those strong friendships, meet new people, join different societies, start an exercise routine with your best friend, apply to give a TEDx talk, steal the mic at a karaoke bar and blow people away with your rendition of I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys. Throw your hands up when you ride a roller coaster, and travel the world even if it means missing a few days of school. I've done all of this in the past year, and I can safely say that there isn't a thing I regret, because I made the most out of my university experience so far, and I had the self-confidence to put myself out there. 3 years. That's 36 months, and I don't even know how many days, hours, minutes, or seconds. I've never counted my time in university because I was and am too busy living in the moment, making the most out of everything and enjoying what life has to offer. So let me ask you, what do roses smell like? Thank you.